Right.
6th Street is being painted or something.
Yeah, that'll be open
Yeah.
tomorrow.
And this part is.
Oh, it's close for
Yes.
paving the road. Yeah.
and this part, I went through the paint,
Gotta get it out.
but I couldn't go through where they were paving.
Yeah,
So I took a right and I went over by Public Works. thinking that,
yeah, they're supposed to be done, open tomorrow.
Well, I had a lot of work to finish.
All set. Good afternoon, everyone. The hour being 5:30 on August 29th, 2023. I will now call the Public Works and Service Committee meeting to order. Mr. Christopher, may we have roll call, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alder Jones,
Present.
Alder Jarrett,
Present.
Alder Perez,
President,
Alder Davis. Here and Alder Kelly excused.
Yes. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from August 8th, 2023. Approved.
second,
Motion and second to approve the minutes from August 8th, 2023. Any questions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the motion passes. The first item on our agenda is 0850-23. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Downtown Racine Corporation, requesting to use the city right of way for the annual holiday parade on Saturday, November 11th, 2023. Staff recommendation that permission be granted to the Downtown Racine Corporation to close Ontario Street, State Street between Ontario Street and Main Street from State Street to 6th Street, 6th Street from Main Street to City Hall on Saturday, November 11th, 2023, for the holiday parade with the following attached stipulation. Fiscal note, there will be nominal cost to the various city departments on a regular shift basis to assist in implementing this event. Mr. Pritzloff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the DRC's annual request to do their holiday parade. All the stipulations and all the, everything seems to be in order with their request. We do have a representative from RPD here if you'd like to discuss any type of security measures and or what their plans might be to ensure a safe event.
Hello, the news packet.
Sergeant Gaff from planning, and I've been here a few other times. This parade's pretty much set up. We have the same route. We use the same thing that we did for the St. Patrick's Day parade. We should have more than enough officers to cover it. We have plans in place if anything does happen.
Any questions from committee members? Thank you, Sergeant Levesque. Any questions? Period. Second. It's been motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Jarrett to approve item 0850-23. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Our next item is 0863-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Transit and Mobility Director, submitting a professional services agreement between the city of Racine and Cooney Architect LLC in the not to exceed amount of $114,400. Staff recommendation that the Public Works and Service Committee approve the professional services agreement and direct the mayor and the city clerk to sign the agreement between the city of Racine and Cooney Architects LLC for the design of transit building improvement in the not to exceed amount of $114,400. Fiscal note funding is available in Art Object 602-82011 57200 building improvements. Director Young is here to speak on the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the Commission, Public Works staff. In front of you today is a request to enter into a professional services agreement with CUNY Architects. We went out to bid for professional services for architecture and engineering for our facility at 1900 Kentucky Street. This is our maintenance garage, our bus barn, and our administrative office. It is actually the oldest transit facility in the state of Wisconsin, serving that purpose. So I'm really excited about having a $1.7 million investment in the building. But in order to begin that work, we must engage a firm that can put together what the scope could be for the project related to HVAC, design for workspace, different facility improvements required based on our facility conditions assessment done by the Concord Group. So we worked with Concord to put together the RFP. And through that process, we've got 3 bids, and we are presenting the lowest and most responsible bidder to you today.
Thank you, Director Young. Questions from committee? Alder Perez.
So, Director, thank you for coming forward today. We have plans of putting in solar panels, and Proterra is working on the electrical system and all that stuff that's currently going on because of the bankruptcy reorganization and our weakness in getting some things repaired there. How will that affect the process of what we want to do here?
Well, thank you for that question, Alder Perez. These are 2 different projects. So one of which is on the south half of the facility that is adjacent to the bus barn. This particular project is on our administrative and maintenance garage building, which is on the north of the property. So they do not conflict. The construction for the solar will be happening this upcoming year. And this particular project, the professional services piece will be done in about March of 2024. And so the project will not necessarily overlap. And if there is some construction overlap with those vehicles on site, we'll make sure that we're planning according to that.
So is this project actually, is this contract for actual work on the property or just develop a plan to do the work?
Correct. This is the architecture and engineering services for designing the project.
Designing the project.
Correct.
Any further questions?
Yeah.
Alder Perez, go ahead.
Based on the design, what would be the next step? Once we have the design?
That's a great question. So once there is the architecture and engineering services, then this firm will aid in putting the design out to bid and then go into construction.
What's the projected timeline?
By 2025 to be done with construction. Quarter 2 to 3.
And the second phase, after we have the architectural plans to do this, is that also federally funded with matching, or is that some other source of funding that we need to come up with?
The totality of this is 80% funded. So from the engineering and architecture work you see here today to construction, that is all within that grant that we've received for 80% coverage for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Director Young. Seeing no further questions, a motion is in order. Move to approve.
Second.
The motion and second to approve item 0863-23. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you again. Next item on the agenda is 0851-23. Communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Department of Public Works, submitting bid results for contract 2023132, City of Racine, State Highway 32 reroute. Staff recommendation to receive and file. Mr. Pritzlaff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did open bids on August 23rd. And we received no bids, so. We didn't really open it. We didn't receive any bids. So we recommend that we receive and file this. This project, we'd like to move forward with an immediate re-advertisement, pushing out the completion date a little bit. What we found in making phone calls was late in the year, we have this project is largely pavement marking, signage type contractors. Those folks that are booked up. So They weren't able to put in a bid. So I think the best thing, and John, Commissioner Rooney and I talked about it, was to get it bid out immediately, only extend the completion date out to say May 31st of next year. So that once everything slows down this year, get a winter in there, they'll be able to come in right away once the weather clears up. You only paint,
Sure.
when the weather's kind of easy. So that's our recommendation.
What's the additional time
Well,
from what you originally had?
I think we had, I think it was like a November 15th, but once you start getting past that, we start getting into, I think it's, what is it, 50 degrees is kind of what they can.
Yeah, 50 and rising for
You know,
cake marking.
So you're starting to get into that
Yeah.
timeframe where, so you don't want to be beholden to the weather. So I think we thought the best thing to do was to push that completion date out. We'll get a good bid by advertising it right away going into next year, and we'll get the project done as soon as we can. I think it's going to take all of 2 to 3 weeks to complete the job.
Well, it might take a little longer than that, if I may. It also has some modifications, some of the electrical for the traffic signal configurations. We have to add a couple heads and do some other things that were required by WISDOT. We'll actually cover that in the MOU later on the agenda, but that electrical work, that is not easy work in the winter time too, trying to pull wire when it's cold and everything like that too, and do that type of work. So we're just, by the time we would re-advertise and go through that advertisement process, the legislative process, and to award a contract signed, notice proceed, we would just run out the season, get this work done. So DOT understands this, and we let them know we'll have the work done in the spring. And that's reflected in our other items on the agenda.
Commissioner Alvarez.
Do you anticipate that April will be far enough down because of weather and so forth, or does it need to go to like June or something?
Well, I think we've got a completion date of May 31st in mind, so that'll be plenty of time for it to warm up enough for that.
Yeah, this way we can get a bid out. They can commit to pricing, they can commit to get it on their calendar. 2024 is a clean slate for contractors, so there's no sense in waiting to get it bid it out later. Bid it now, give them the completion date later, and I think that'll help us out on getting competitive prices as well. So plans are done, just got to re-advertise.
Seeing no further questions, a motion please.
Move to approve.
So we're seeing.
Or should it-
Okay. It is motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Jarrett, to receive and file item 0851-23. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the motion passes. Our next item is 0852-23, communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the city engineer, submitting change order number 3 to contract 2022070 2022 sidewalk replacement riser of Racine LLC contractors. Staff recommendation that change order number 3 to contract 2022070 2022 sidewalk replacement riser Racine LLC contractors be approved in the amount of $13,107.74. Physical note, funding for this change order is credited in the following or object 40104-57515 sidewalks. Mr. Molitor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As stated, this is contract number 3 for the contract. Contract 2022-070, which is the 2022 accessible sidewalk replacement that was awarded to Raza. This amount, contract change order amount is $13,107.74. The original contract is the amount of $394,458.03. It was approved on a resolution 0440-22 on July 12th of last year. This change order will bring the total contract to $431,038.27. This is basically Well, it should be the last change order. We were hoping to get a final payment in with it, but the Racine Works paperwork wasn't finalized quite yet, so this should be it for the project. We recommend approval of the change order if the committee so agrees.
Questions from committee members? Seeing none, I will move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, we'll give it to Alder Perez.
Wait a minute, you can change your mind.
Alder Perez, Alder Jerry. How's that? Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is 0853-23, communication sponsored by the chair on behalf of the Commissioner of Public Works submitting a professional services agreement between the City of Racine and AECom Technical Services, Inc. in the not to exceed amount of $167,095. Staff recommendation that the Public Works and Services Committee approve the professional services agreement and direct the mayor and the city clerk to sign the agreement between the City of Racine and AECom Technical Services, Inc. for the 2024 sewer management in the not to exceed amount of $166,095. Physical note funding is available in Art Objects 22,640, 52,100 sanitary sewer. Commissioner Rooney.
Madam Chair, committee members, this professional services agreement is for annual consulting services that we engage with AECom for both their stormwater utility, enterprise fund, and sanitary sewer maintenance, which is a special revenue fund. This is everything from engineering and planning and design assistance, as well as assistance in helping us determine what the rates will be for both of those funds on an annual basis. There are 13 tasks associated with this work. A lot of it is duplicitous among the two different funds, if you will. So we do a lot of the same work for the Stormwater Enterprise Fund as we do for the Sanitary Sewer Maintenance Fund. But they have appropriations split for each of these type of work. So we know which is being charged to which various funding entity. Again, there are 13 tasks associated with it. This funding for this is appropriated in the budget annually for both the stormwater utility and the sanitary sewer maintenance fund. Committee agrees that appropriate action be to authorize the mayor and city clerk to enter the agreement. If you have any questions,
Any questions? Alder Perez.
Mr. Rooney, when these are done, where is let me try this again. Where is the specific area that they was done? Is that on here?
where is the specific area? And so
Or is
far
this for the whole city?
this is for the whole city. So
Okay.
this really doesn't get too specific to any one project. They are helping us with oversight on our closed circuit televising. That's some of the items on this professional services agreement, for example. So that CCTV that we do for our sanitary sewer lines and our storm sewer lines, they help with the placement of that information, our GIS, with the analyzing of that data to see if we need to repair, replace, or align that infrastructure. They resolve discrepancies with the contractor who does the work. They're updating the GIS, like I said, putting that information on the server. They're taking a look at our utility cleaning that gets done for our sewer infrastructure. We have project annual reports that are provided to DPW every year for both sanitary sewer and storm sewer, so we know exactly how much work we're doing, how we're tracking our assets. That work is in here. On-call work that we have with them is to review anything that comes up, storm or sanitary sewer related. It could be in regards to potential new development. We need somebody on hand for that to help us true up our calculations so we can set the rates for sanitary sewer maintenance fund, stormwater utility. And they also help us with some of the integrated planning we have between our pavement design and construction and the sewer work that's associated with it. So it's not any one particular project. It's help that they provide us across the board with engineering and public works. And this has been ongoing for since the birth of the stormwater utility back in 2005, and when we implemented a sanitary sewer maintenance fund back in 2009. So these services have been ongoing.
So does this also include like the sewer systems in Mount Pleasant, because we run water or sell water to them or that kind of stuff?
Well, the water, on the water side, that's through water wastewater utility like Mount Pleasant. They're like retail customers of Racine Water Utility, as is started in Caledonia as a wholesale customer. That's a completely different entity than this. They do within the scope of this agreement, and we just completed some work with them recently to help us with some infrastructure border disputes that we have, like on our city corporate limits. Whose sewer is that? Who's responsible for that? And we just notified Caledonia, North Bay, Elmwood Park of discrepancies we found where this isn't our sewer, this is yours, whether it's sanitary or storm or whatever. So those are things that they kind of help us with in regards to the outlying communities. I guess that's how I'd answer that question. But the water infrastructure is through Mike Gitter and the water utility.
There was a discussion a couple of days ago at one of the meetings I went to where apparently there was a water main break or something in the shopping center where Piggly Wiggly is, which isn't the city of Racine. So I wondered, and they said Mount Pleasant, and I wondered how come we're dealing with Mount Pleasant break in the water system. Do we have, is it because the pipes originally come from us, or how does that relate to?
Well, the water utility, like I said, they have customers, and these are really questions that could be answered by Mike Gitter over at Racine Water Utility. But they have retail customers and they have wholesale customers. So to be real generic and kind of a basic explanation would be pretty much anything you see north of 3 Mile Road. That's our water, our city water that goes up there, but it all passes through a couple of unique metered locations, like at Charles Street and like Main Street. And once it passes through those meters, it's their water. They maintain it out there. They take care of it. They read meters out there. They fix water services, hydrants, water mains. So that's why it's wholesale to them. On the flip side, the water that gets pushed out, I guess, to the west, they are still retail customers of the utility. That is, the utility has a service area that extends beyond the city limits, and they have to go out there. They have to fix water main breaks in Mount Pleasant and Sturtevant. So it's a little different setup. It's just the way that it's been created over time. If you want like more detail on that, I would encourage you to talk to Mike Gitter.
I was just curious because they mentioned that. Well, why are we doing fair work not in the city?
And you'll see water department trucks out in Mount Pleasant, Sturtevant doing work. You won't see them up in Caledonia doing work. That I know.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
No.
And now the motion is in order.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Chair to approve item 0853-23. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. The next item on our agenda is 0862-23, communications from the Commissioner of Public Works submitting a two-party memorandum of understanding for State Highway 32/20, connecting highway changes between Main Street and Marquette Street. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to enter into a two-party agreement with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for a connecting highway change, Main Street to Marquette Street to Washington Avenue, segment length 1 .07 miles. Physical note, Wisconsin DOT requires a cost to cure for the Marquette Street Bridge in the amount of $455,000. Funding will be provided for in the 2024-2023 Capital Improvement Plan. Commissioner Remy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. So this all began back in 2019 when the city hired Tool Design to take a look at, the downtown, public realm, parking situation, Mining Square. They held a series of charrettes down at the Johnson Building that summer. They did a design week and they did a discovery week, and they put together a plan that was ultimately brought before the Plan Commission and ultimately Common Council. That plan was adopted by Common Council and the Plan Commission in early 2020. And what that plan had shown was some of the ways that the downtown wanted to be transformed over a number of years. One of the keys to making some of those transformations downtown was to get the connecting highway off of 6th Street, 7th Street, and Main Street. So we had complete autonomy over that public right of way. What we did on Lake Avenue and Wisconsin Avenue just recently, changing those one-way pairs to essentially bi-directional two-way roadways. That was part of the Tool plan. The next step in that was to do that on 6th and 7th Street. They also looked at putting Main Street on a road diet, getting that down to one lane in each direction, adding bicycle lanes, slowing traffic down there, creating a series of all-way stops, two-way stops. All those things weren't possible if it was going to remain a connecting highway. Connecting highway, we have to provide minimum levels of service on that thoroughfare. It has to operate like a connecting highway. There can't be undue delay on it. There has to be certain considerations that we need to have for capacity. All those things go away when we remove the connecting highway and allow us to do the things that the city approved with the Tool plan back at the beginning of 2020. So this has been a long process to get Highway 32 removed out of downtown and moved over to Main Street. We started working with DOT later that summer in 2020. Then the mayor had authorized some work. If you recall, with Payne Frazier, we did a little bit of public outreach along that corridor on Marquette Street over there, seeing that we're going to move a highway over there. We want to find out what the people think about that idea, because maybe the people who are going to have a connecting highway now on their roadway didn't attend the plans downtown. So we did that public outreach. We did that in late 2020 and wrapped it up in early 2021. After essentially no feedback, no objection to it, decided to proceed with the plan. So I've been working with DOT for the last better part of 2 years now, trying to get this connecting highway change approved. Some of the requirements of that are in this memorandum of understanding are making those changes to Marquette Street that we just received and filed bids on, because we didn't get any bids on it. We have to make some minor changes along Marquette Street to make that connecting highway ready, if you will. So geometrically, it functions well for a connecting highway. It's got the lane capacity. Geometrically, there are some slight modifications we have to make because the standards for truck turning has changed. We have to do some changes to signal modifications slightly, but that's where it is going to go. Now, what we're doing with this is we're essentially swapping assets with the state. So we're giving them Marquette Street now. It's a connecting highway. Any work on Marquette Street will always be paid for at 80% now once this thing goes through by the DOT. Consequently, anything that needs to be done on 6th and 7th and Main Street is on our dime, right? It's going to go back under local control. That's not the end of the story necessarily. We know how to skin this cat, if you will. For example, back in 2010, we had a jurisdictional transfer Highway 32. We took it off Main Street and we took it off Gould and we moved it over to Douglas Avenue in Hamilton. So we could get the funding from the state to rebuild that long corridor, which was in a really tough shape. And we did that. We didn't get the generous 80-20 split like we normally do because the assets we were switching, they were getting some pretty deteriorated assets compared to what we were getting back in return for Main Street and Gould. So, yeah, the funding wasn't quite as generous on that project as we would have liked it to. But however, we just turned around years later, we applied for STP funds and we rebuilt Gould Street the year before last, or was it last year? Or 2 years? Last year. And there we got STP program paid for 80% of that quarter. So we know how to kind of go back around to it, if you will. Most of our assets down here are in very good shape. You know, Main Street was done 21 years ago. 6th Street was done back in 2010, I believe, 9. We did 7th Street and the roundabout in Washington Avenue. We did those in 2012. These assets are very new. We're handing them over some older assets, plus we're giving them a lift bridge that's now on them. That bridge on Marquette Street, I won't need to have to either try to have the common council fund that with 100% local funds or try to get money out of the local bridge program to get monies for that. That's their bridge now. When that bridge does need work, we're only going to pay 20% of that cost. They're on the hook for 80%. Plus Marquette Street, if you look at it, particularly south of the Marquette Street Bridge, all the way up to Washington Avenue, it's in need of some work fairly soon. So when they evaluate all the assets and what's been invested already and what now they have responsibility for, they came up with a cost to cure, or I would maybe refer to as a true up, if you will. And the city of Racine essentially owes $455,000 for this swap to make the assets balance, if you will. So, you know, they're not getting stuck with something, or we're not getting stuck with something. And we kind of anticipated there would be a true up. That money is due to the state in 2024, preferably by the beginning of their end of their fiscal year, which would be June 30th, 2024. So that money is being placed in the 2024 to 2033 CIP under land improvements. So that's being covered. So what's in the memorandum of understanding is, you know, some of the issues that we've been going over the last 2 years that needs to be done both by the state, by the city of Racine. I don't know if you want me to read through every one of these, but there are city responsibilities, there are DOT responsibilities for these. Part of that was getting plans approved by DOT that we could go out for bid for these changes on Marquette Street. DOT just approved those plans. We followed the MOU. You know, we didn't get a bidder, but they know that. So, you know, initially they had the effective date of this to be December 31st of 2023, thinking that we would have had those changes made with this contract that we just left, but didn't get any bidders on. They have actually changed in the connecting highway change agreements that we'll go over next. They've actually moved that date out on these two documents to July 1st of next year. So effectively the agreement says 2023, but it's that December 31st, 2023, or when construction is complete. And that's what this is reflective of. So this is the agreement that will need to be signed, you know, by the mayor, city clerk, city attorney, and the finance director, that we're gonna take on the responsibility of all these assets as local, and they're gonna take on the responsibility of Marquette Street as connecting highway. So that is the explanation for this MOU. If you have any more questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
So I've never heard the terms cost per cure or even true up. Does that mean, what does that mean per se? I know you went into an explanation, but cost per cure means the difference we pay to make it right?
Pretty much. I mean, in a nutshell, I mean, let's just say that, you know, you had something of value and, you know, it was estimated to be $10 and I had something of value estimated to be $6. And we wanted to trade those things, but you're like, you know, I'm giving you something that's worth $10 and I would give you $4 and we would say we've agreed to this this swap. I wanted this, you wanted that. What I had was more valuable than you had though.
But both those terms mean the same thing.
Yeah, cost to cure, true up, I think is used a lot of times in the water or wastewater. If you ever run, they have true ups there, end of year true ups. They might have for like utility rates or other things like that. Cost to cure is a term that WISDOT uses. Yeah, so our cost to cure back when we did 32 in 2010, we didn't have a cost to cure payment. We just entered into an MOU at that time where our funding share for Douglas Avenue and Hamilton was only about 55% from the state. We had to cough up about 45% of that cost instead of giving them a big check. We could have wrote them a big check then, a cost secured check. But in speaking with finance, they would have rather have done it the way we did it then. In this particular one, the $455,000 is not an onerous payment, that we would need to, worry about over time. The project we did around Douglas Hamilton was nearly a $10 million project, so the cost to cure was probably going to be a lot more expensive. So, as a one-time payment. So that's what that means essentially. And then this allows us to do the things next year. We're going to have in the CIP to make those changes and flip 6 and 7, proceed with those projects in accordance with the tool plan that was adopted by the common council and make Main Street a nice, more of a slower, calmer traffic, one lane each direction, bike lanes, things like that. So.
And no one showed up to those outreach sessions regarding the market area, like no one from OPA, none of those folks showed up to, like, they weren't too keen about having a highway, that area turned into a highway.
Are you asking that? Or are you
Yeah,
stating
I'm
that?
asking.
No, maybe I misstated that. When Tool came to town in the summer of 2019, it was a pretty big public outreach campaign. Hey, come down. They had a week-long meeting at the Johnson Building where they wanted everybody to come in and give all types of input. They walked this whole area, asked for input, and then a couple weeks later, they came back, they digested all information, and they invited the same group of people back. It's always open house. And they went over some of the things that they had discovered, and they kind of put it to like a design charrette and got input on that. So that was done. It was very open and transparent. What we did for the one on Marquette Street there is as just an extra layer. Nobody objected to it per se, but just as to make sure that nobody missed the opportunity in 2019, we held that open house with Payne and Fraser for all the properties along Marquette Street, specifically targeted them. It was a little bit wonky because it was done during COVID. So it was like we had to do it virtually and things like that. But we had people participate and the one thing I think everybody probably realizes is that Marquette Street, for all intents and purposes, the majority of it is kind of commercial. There's very little residential along there. So I don't think there was a lot of objections to, and what we found is the average daily traffic wasn't really going to change at all either. It's still going to run just like it runs today, except it's going to have a highway sign on it. And I think that's what we want to let people know. Do you have any objection, any concerns about this being Highway 32 and not just Marquette Street? And when we conducted those sessions over there, albeit virtually, we didn't get any negative feedback. I think we reported that back out at a committee meeting here back at that time, and we moved forward with it and got authorization to continue this conversation with Wisconsin DOT.
And just as a note, we really didn't get a lot of feedback from the people on Wisconsin Avenue until we started to convert the street. And then we got a lot of people saying, what are they doing? And I'm like, we authorized this and meetings were held, and some people just, they kind of forgot.
Yeah, and we did go door to door and pass out information when we started that project in Wisconsin. And then, I don't know, that might have refreshed some people's memories. Some people might have forgot about it 2019 or never even attended it. So, yeah.
But it all worked out. I haven't received any more questions since it's been converted. don't know if you have received any.
No, I think it's going quite well. We're just waiting for Hotel Verdant to finish the remaining work there on corner of Wisconsin and Fifth, so we get that last little block fully open to bi-directional traffic. I think the two-way change has been very well received. I think it's so important that we got it done particularly for the project at 233 Lake Avenue with Hub D. Much more easier access to that new project development, more mobility, easier to get in and out of, parking spaces or ramps or whatever. So, yeah, I don't think we're gonna, we plan on doing, Era and myself, plan on doing kind of a little open house probably in October with downtown area, just to kind of let them know 6th and 7th Street are coming up next year, and Main Street, and get some feedback, and so trying to get a little more proactive about it and get some dialogue going so people know that's coming next and they're as surprised by it, I guess. So.
Jared, does that answer your question? Perez, any additional questions?
No, ma'am, very informative.
Okay, a motion is in order. Move to approve.
Okay.
Motion by Alder Jared, second by Alder Perez to approve item 0862-23. See no further questions. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Next item is 086023. Communications sponsored from Commissioner of Public Works submitting a two-way agreement for State Highway 32 connecting highway recession number 298, State Street to 6th Street, 7th Street, concurrent to Washington Avenue. Staff recommendation that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized and directed to enter into the two-party agreement with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for a connection highway recession State Street to 6th Street, 7th Street, Washington Avenue. Commissioner Rooney.
Madam Chair, committee members, also, I just want to mention about the last item Andy's next to. These are all reviewed by the city attorney's office. We got these from the state. Scott and his staff. I'll take a look at them as well. So what you have for this item, and I'll kind of lead it into the next item too. All this agreement is essentially this is just the document that needs to be agreed upon. Basically, it's a rescission of the connecting highway that you have coming through the downtown area and getting rid of it. And the next item that we'll have will be the designation of the connecting highway on Marquette. That's what both of these two items are in a nutshell. There's a little map that shows that. There's some language in here that describes that. So this particular item here under 0860-23 is just the agreement rescinding or rescission of the connecting highway on its existing route that we have on 670. And the recommendation would be for the mayor, city clerk, city attorney to sign off.
Questions from committee members? Motion is in order.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Jarrett to approve item 0860-23. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Our final item is 0861-23. Communications from the Commissioner of Public Works submitting a two-party agreement for the State Highway 32 connecting highway designation number 299, Main Street to Marquette Street to Washington Avenue. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to enter into a two-party agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for a connecting highway designation, Main Street to Marquette Street to Washington Avenue. Commissioner Rooney.
Thank you, Mayor Chair, committee members. And then this is the agreement that would then now designate Highway 32 going over to Marquette Street. And it would connect Highway 20 at Washington Avenue and at State Street, State Trunk Highway 38. Also, part of State Trunk Highway 38 from Marquette Street down to Main Street will also be designated 32, so that's the connection there. So this is the designation of the connecting highway on the new route.
And by designation, you mean that it's just to be named that design?
It's going to be officially Highway 32 on State Street from Maine to Marquette, and on Marquette from State to Washington, and then 20 will terminate at State Street, and it'll go from Washington Avenue along Marquette, and then 20 will terminate there. Just like 20 right now terminates at Main Street downtown, it'll now terminate at State.
Okay.
That's the new designation. So this area now will be free of connecting highways.
Because I looked at the map, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's see, did you do the same thing?
It's their verbiage. We didn't write it.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none.
Move to approve.
Motion by Alder Perez, second by Alder Garrett to approve item 0861-23. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, by the chair. Opposed? That motion passes. That concludes our agenda for this afternoon. Thank you all. We are adjourned. It's confusing. Sounds like,
Lot of stuff on it.
I thought, is it going back to Main Street? That doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Even I was confused why they went to that. I'm like, okay, they know exactly what's being rescinded and what's being designated.
Yeah.
So right on Georgetown, it's Spina Avenue. Western School Drive, Spina Avenue, I thought it was like rain, like we talked about rain in a couple of days, so that's definitely like that kind of puddle. And I know you guys just did right there.
Yeah, give them the old highway.
So, some movie that.
It's a big old puddle.
Big little pool.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they agreed to it.
Yeah.
It's
like
jump
Yeah. Oh.
Where are we at here?
Southwood Drive on the Spina Avenue, West Southwood Drive on the Spina Avenue.
From, what was this, Sarah?
So that's in the Georgetown area, so coming south on Southwood Drive and then west, so right on that corner, of Spina on Southwood Drive, there's a big water. I saw it a couple of days, I was like, okay, maybe it was rain or something, because when it rains, because I felt there, so we haven't had rain in a while. So, and then when I started to take the pictures, I could see that it was still running. So I don't